Hey guys, how's it going? It's Janie over here at Janie Sweets, and welcome back to another episode of Friday Fixes, where you ask me your cake questions and I do my best to answer them for you. Now this episode is all about pricing, and I have made a previous video. This is kind of like the second part to it. So if you have not watched my cake cost calculator, definitely head on over to the video that I will link for you guys in the description box so that you can watch it and figure out how to price your cakes. Now this is part 2 of that video. It's kind of like, once you have figured out your cost or what the cake will cost your customer, how do you go about telling them that price? Because what I have done a lot of times is I spent all this time figuring out how much the cake is going to cost, and then once I come up with the price, I freeze, I freak out, and I go, oh my gosh, there is no way this client is going to pay that much money for this cake. Now what I have to remember is, this client is not me. I don't know that client's pocket. How am I supposed to know that they cannot afford this cake or that they won't pay for this cake? B, you never know how much they really actually want it. I mean, at the end of the day, if they really want it, they will pay for it. It doesn't matter, like how they do it, they will come up with the money and pay for it. Because I mean, how else is Michael Kors still in business? Like, it's literally just like a purse that you could get at Walmart that makes the same function, or Louis Vuitton or Gucci, I don't know, whatever other purse. I'm not into purses, as you can tell. So yeah, you have to remember that there are clienteles for every single person, and never think that your prices are too high, because at the end of the day, they most likely aren't. You would be surprised how much other people are charging for cakes, out in the world. So definitely, I'm gonna give you my tips on how I wrapped my mind around telling the clients how much my cakes cost. So the first thing you need to remember is that your price is fair. You have worked everything out, especially if you use that cake cost calculator. You have worked everything out. You're not charging the customer an extraordinary amount. This price is definitely fair. Now, where the price is going to vary is on your wages and how much you want to get paid per hour. That number, I cannot tell you what that is. You have to determine for yourself how much you want to get paid per hour, and that is going to be based on your experience, how long you've been doing this, what your skill levels are, etc., etc., etc. Obviously, somebody who has been doing this for like 7-8 years is not going to charge the same amount as someone who has been doing this for a year, so definitely make this number fair to the customer, but also make it fair to you. What I mean by that is, I don't care where you live in the world, this number should never be lower than minimum wage. Ever, ever, ever. It does not matter what you think the client will pay. You have to remember that if you were to walk into an establishment, let's say a bakery for example, and they told you, I'm going to pay you $3 an hour, would you accept the job? Never. You would never accept the job. You would tell them, wait a second, minimum wage is $10. Why am I getting paid $3? So you have to think about it in the sense that you're working at a bakery, right? You're not working for yourself. So think about it in that way, and it'll make it a little bit easier for you to at least get paid minimum wage per hour. Another thing that you have to take into consideration is that what you are selling is a service. So many times people tell me, what? This much for a cake? It's sugar, flour, butter, and eggs. Why is it so expensive? And I tell them, well, you're not paying for sugar, flour, butter, and eggs. Think about it. If the customer wanted sugar, flour, butter, and eggs, they would go to the grocery store and purchase said ingredients. They're not paying you for that. They're paying you for the cake. They're paying you for the design. They're paying you for your time, for your expertise. If they're coming to you, they cannot do it themselves. And so they should not argue your prices. And if they do, don't take it personal and don't feel bad about it. You're not doing anything wrong. Again, especially if you have used that cake cost calculator. everything is fair, everything is legit, and everything makes sense. So remember, you are providing them with a service, not with the ingredients. The third thing you have to keep in mind is, why are you in this? Are you in this for the love of it? Are you in this to make money? Now, if you're in this for the love of it, you should not be selling it. You should not be selling it, especially not to strangers. Maybe you want to make cakes for friends and family, and you tell them, you know what, how about you just cover the cost and I'll do it for you. And this is what I did when I started out. But once I figured out that I wanted to make this into a side business, eventually a full-time business, I wanted to make a profit. I had to make a profit. How else can I afford my addiction to buying molds and stuff? I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean? You have to make a profit. You have to come up with something, you know, in your pockets at the end of the day. Think about everything that you are giving up when you decide to make a cake for someone. Now, mind you, you're not forced to make anything for anyone, and you can say no to a client. But once you take on that order, you definitely sacrifice a lot. You sacrifice your time, you sacrifice your, you know, energy, because making cakes take time. It takes skills. I mean, you're working with something that is perishable, one, that can go wrong with the weather. I mean, have you ever tried to fondant a cake when it was super humid, or tried to deliver a buttercream cake in a summer heat? It is extremely stressful. It is extremely labor intensive, and you need a lot of skills to do this. Remember, you are Picasso, okay? You are Givenchy. You are Vera Wang. You know, like, you need to remember that you are worth the price that you are charging. So this is it, you guys. These are my tips on how I, you know, switched around my mindset and made myself understand that my prices were fair, that I had to charge what I'm charging, that, you know, if the customer cannot afford this, that's not, you know, saying something about me, that's saying something about them. And it's not in a bad way per se. They may not be in a you know, at a position where they can afford it, or that they want to pay for it. So you have to remember that if a customer cannot afford your cakes, or does not want to pay the price for your cakes, you know, you can't just assume that they can't afford it, because at the end of the day, I can definitely afford a Michael Kors bag. I just don't see the need for it. You know what I mean? Like, so this is what I'm trying to tell you. A lot of times it's not that the customer can't afford it in your area. They just don't feel like they need to purchase it. Like, if they were really serious about it and they really wanted it, they would pay the price for it. So always remember that you're not too expensive. Do not cringe when you give somebody your prices. At the end of the day, they're either gonna pay it or they're not gonna pay it. They're not gonna eat you. Like, they're not gonna kill you, you know, for giving them a high price. So, and also, what you think is high may not be high to somebody else. You know, I've definitely given a price to someone, a few people who said that's it, and I'm like, hold on a second, how much did you want to pay for it? You know, so don't assume that your prices are high, because what's considered high to someone may be very low to somebody else. So definitely make your time worthwhile, and charge for what you are worth. So I hope these tips and tricks have definitely helped you guys, and that the next time a customer tells you, I want a cake, you give them a fair price, and you do not lowball yourself, because at the end of the day, you're going to hate this, and you're not going to want to continue, and then it's just not going to be fair to anybody. So my rule of thumb is, I'd rather have one cake that will pay me my fair wage than 15 cakes that will, you know, pay me $1 an hour. It's not worth it. If I wanted the experience, I would just do it for free. So this is it, you guys. These are my tips on how to muster up the courage to tell your clients your prices. I hope you've enjoyed this video. As always, subscribe to the channel so that you do not miss out on any of my other videos. Anything that I've talked about will be linked below for you guys. All right, I love you. Talk to you next time.